Bum 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 bum. Run to the Simba!
What's up, champions, and welcome to the side scheme. I'm BananaCrapshoot, running another Carcast while I'm driving. Today we got a surprise from Fantasy Flight Games. We got the rules reference guide version 1.4. It's been over a year since the last rules reference came out, so there's been lots of rules emails sent out, lots of questions on certain interactions and timings, and definitions and things over the last year, and we finally got a lot of answers. So I'm gonna warn you guys, if you haven't seen this yet, this thing got thick. The version 1.3 was 27 pages in total length. This PDF document, 45 pages long at this point. So this thing is about 60% bigger than it was a year ago. So I'm not going to go over every change or clarification. You guys can easily find the RRG and read all of it yourselves, but I just wanted to highlight some key points. First off, I'll start with Honorary Avenger was errated. It is now max 1 per player, or not per player, per character. So that turns off the She-Hulk Aggression Ally shenanigans where you load her up with 12 Honorary Avengers. Have a leadership player make the caller in. Everybody loads Honorary Avengers on her and use Inspiring Presence and Get Ready, so she can do like 120 damage just by herself in a turn. So that combo is gone. Max 1 per character, Honorary Avenger now. The defense ruling from version 1.3 is no longer how defense works. So now the way defense works is if I am the target of an attack, if I exhaust to defend and use my basic defense power, that counts as defending. If an ally defends and takes the blocks it, that's considered to have been defended. And if I use a defense event during the villain attack, that also counts as defended. So if I'm playing Captain America and I play shield block, that counts as a defended attack now. So if I'm playing protection and I have hard to ignore, an unflappable, and electrostatic armor equipped on Captain America, and I play shield block, prevents all the damage, and I will deal 1 damage from electrostatic armor. I will remove 1 threat from hard to ignore, and I will draw a card off Inflappable. Also, what this means is another player can play defense events. The only one currently that I think works is Preemptive Strike. So another player can... Right now, the only way to change the target of an attack is to another player to exhaust to defend, or an ally exhaust to block. The Preemptive Strike is currently the only card I can think of that would change the target of the attack if another player plays it. So if you're attacked, I can play Preemptive Strike on your turn during your villain activation, and I now become the target of the attack. It is now considered to be defended. So that's a pretty big change from before. With 1.3, the only way an attack considered to be defended is if you use your exhausted to defend. You playing defense annotated event cards did not count as defending attacks, which they do, which makes a lot more sense. I'm guessing they're doing this for future proofing, and it honestly makes more sense. So that was a pretty big one. They added a lot of clarifications, and they added a lot of entries for other things. Added effects. Another big one that changed, that has some stuff going on, is the modes of play. So rookie mode is gone. We have standard, expert, and heroic. And heroic has a update where it's a modification of a standard game mode. So you don't have to be playing expert to play heroic. You can be playing the standard stage 1, stage 2, and you can still play heroic. I guess it would be heroic standard to deal yourself extra encounter cards. So if you don't want to play the stage 2 and stage 3, you can play stage 1, stage 2, still get extra encounter cards. That is heroic. Rookie mode is gone. We now have skirmish mode, which is the evolution of rookie mode. So the way skirmish mode works is you play against one stage of the villain. It can be stage 1, stage 2, or stage 3. You decide, and you play just that one stage of the villain. That is skirmish mode. They also clarified campaign mode. Campaign mode is a... how exactly does this read? It allows players to modify standard game mode through interconnected scenarios that are played one after another. No two campaigns are exactly alike, and the rules are found in the campaign associated rulebook. So, expert campaign is a modification campaign for advanced players who want a harder challenge. So, basically what this means is you can play a standard campaign against the standard version of the villain, stage 1 or stage 2, or you can play the standard campaign against the expert villain, stage 2 and stage 3. Or you can do an expert campaign against the standard version of a villain, stage 1 and stage 2, or expert campaign against the expert version of a villain, stage 2 and stage 3. And during the campaign, or expert campaign, you can choose which mode you wish to play for each scenario. So you can play a standard campaign against, like in Galaxy's Most Wanted, you could do a standard campaign using the standard campaign rules, and you can decide against Drang, I'm going to play standard Drang, stage 1 and stage 2. Against the Collector, I'm going to play expert, stage 2 and stage 3. And then I'm going to play expert Nebula, stage 2 and stage 3. And I'm going to be playing standard Ronin, stage 1 and stage 2. So, as long as you're using the standard or expert campaign rules and setup instructions throughout all the scenarios in the campaign, the mode in which you play against the villain can change. So, one of the greatest strengths about Marvel Champions, besides it being a Marvel game, is the modularity and the variety and the interchangeability. Besides just customizing the hero deck, you can customize your play experience in the villain deck through modular sets, standard, expert, skirmish now, the campaign, and now they even allow us, I mean, you always could do this because, I mean, it's a co-op game, you can do however you want, but now they've set the framework where you can legitimately play however you want, and I think that's good for the game. Trying to think if anything else big came up. They clarified overkill, so I'll just read that. If an ally is dealt any amount of excess damage by an attack with the overkill keyword, simultaneously deal damage equal to the excess amount to the identity of the player who controls the ally. If a minion is dealt any amount of excess damage by an attack with the overkill keyword, simultaneously deal damage equal to the excess to the villain. Damage dealt by overkill to an identity or villain does not count as an attack against that character. If a card ability counts excess damage dealt, that ability counts the same value of excess damage that is calculated when resolving overkill. So this just clears up some timing issues. Is excess damage a separate packet? Is damage dealt after the initial damage is dealt to the ally or minion? Here we get clarification, it's a simultaneous thing. A tough status card still soaks up all that damage, just a heads up. So they added the keywords, each have their own entry now instead of just being listed under keywords. There's a lot of they better describe like the player play area, the enemy play area. They break down texts, retaliate. Lots of changes. I mean, this thing went from 27 to 45. I'm just going through quick to see if there's any other big changes I wanted to touch quick that I thought we were talking about. The defense and the game modes were the two big ones I was thinking of. There's pretty much a whole page dedicated to defining U. Basically, the way U works is the way we've kind of been doing it, where U refers to your identity. Whenever it says you, like it's referring to your identity, unless it can't mean you, because like if something says about your hand, that is you, the player. But that really only happens when card abilities happen, and the only time it's considered the player is if it absolutely cannot be considered to be the identity. And there's even, they clarify things that are considered to be extension of a player's identity are events, things that your characters do, action, attacks, thwarts, that those are considered, if it references you at all, that means your identity. A player's resource is considered to be spent by the identity, not the player. Upgrades are attached to identity. They're considered to be part of the identity. Things that are not extensions of the identity are allies and supports. Attacks, thwarts, action abilities, and other abilities triggered from allies in play are not considered to be performed by the identity, so not performed by you. And supports, same thing. So yeah, you as a whole page, I'm not going to read that whole thing, especially while I'm trying to get from point A to point B. The setup appendix for setting up the villain deck and like setting up your game. Step 10 for creating the encounter deck was clarified. There's some change there. Now the PDF isn't loading for some reason. I'm trying to. There's a bunch of FAQ stuff for heroes that haven't had it. Black Widow, Doctor Strange, the Hulk Hero Pack, Rise of Red Skull, Hawkeye's Quiver. Anytime you search your deck now, anytime you search your deck, you shuffle. You shuffle. So we were told that's how that was going to work. Another interesting clarification is for Spider-Woman. You can use. The question was, can Finesse generate a resource to pay for an ability on an aspect card such as Yarnborn? The answer is yes, as long as the resource generated by Finesse is spent on an aspect card or a cost within that aspect card ability, Finesse can be used. So you can use Finesse to pay the physical resource on Yarnborn to deal 2 damage. I don't know that I agree with that ruling. Using Finesse. Finesse is you can exhaust it to generate a wild resource for an aspect card. So Yarnborn's ability is not an aspect card, it is an ability on a card. So I don't really agree that Finesse should be able to be used to pay for Yarnborn. However, that is the ruling, and I will follow the ruling. There's some clarifications on Wasp, on how Hexbolt works, Quicksilver. Galaxy's Most Wanted, there's some clarifications there. Rockets. So here, this was an interesting one. I thought it is. If Rocket Raccoon uses Tinkering, but the tech upgrade is not placed into the discard pile, such as the Collector's ability. So I'm playing against the Collector, want to infiltrate the museum. I have Rocket Raccoon. I want to use Tinkering on one of my upgrades that doesn't have any counters, or only has one counter. Since it's not placed in my discard pile but goes into the collection, will I still draw 2 cards off tinkering? And the answer is yes. Discarding is the act of attempting to place a card in the discard pile. Even if the upgrade ends up in a different game area, the cost of Rocket Raccoon's tinkering ability still was paid. So that's interesting, and I think that might be relevant in the future maybe. If there's other things that change where a card goes when you try to discard it to pay the cost of things. I wonder if that, because I think there was a She-Hulk question with like focused rage or something. Does that contradict that? I thought there was an interaction or a question with focused rage and energy barrier. Well, I guess that's a different interaction because it's talking about discarding cards. Then the question was, yeah, that's a different interaction. What I was thinking of is if you use energy barrier to prevent the damage, you never took the damage to trigger focused rage. I think that's what it was. So this is a little different because we're discarding, we're not preventing damage. And then the rat I talked about, Honorary Avenger. Iron Fist, his response should be an interrupt. I think that one we knew from a rules clarification. Warning had the defense trait removed and was given interrupt. I'm not sure if it didn't have interrupt before, but I don't remember without looking at it because I never play it. But warning had the defense trait removed from it. The Avengers Tower from the Red Skull expansion should have the Avenger trait. Hail Hydra was and the attack on Mount of Theta scheme from Crossbones is errated that it should be Hydra Assault, not Hydra Patrol. So that's it. There's a lot of stuff in here. I'm not going through all of it right now. This was just real quick. I just wanted to touch a couple key things. Honorary Avenger, defense, the game modes. But there's some good stuff in here. I think they did a good job. Things are a lot more clear. They've even stepped out like the enemy scheme activation now. There's like 3 steps to it, and step 2 is a couple bullet points. So they're really breaking down the steps so that we can have a better idea for timing on when things happen. Because there's been some confusion, you get the timing on the card, right? I'll say like defense or thwart or attack, or when the villain initiates an attack, or when the villain attacks, right? There's questions about when that stuff, the timing happens, when certain things can happen with different card abilities. So having the RRG, I think it's been a long time coming. It's been over a year, but I think it was definitely worth the wait because this is a thick boy now, 45 pages versus 27. So everybody go to FFG's website, look for the new RRG. It's posted all over the Discords. It's been updated in the Facebook group under announcements for the resources post that has like the link to the Discord, the community Discord at the top. If you scroll a little down from that, there is a RRG link that is there on the Facebook group too. So that's it for this Carcast. I'm BananaCrapshoot. Stay scheming, champions.